The distortions we're going to talk about today are called magnification and minimization. And I also call this the binocular trick. Magnification is when you blow things out of proportion, and minimization is when you minimize things and say they're not important when they really are. And it's like looking through one end or the other end of the binoculars. You look through one end and everything looks much bigger and closer, and then you look through the other end and everything looks much smaller and much more distant. And magnification and minimization are one of 3 or 4 distortions that you always see with every type of anxiety, like phobias, panic attacks. You're always magnifying things. Like, let's say you have the fear of flying, and you're thinking about flying somewhere, getting on a plane, and you start getting frightened. Well, the airplane isn't frightening you. It's what you're telling yourself. Only your thoughts can upset you, and you're probably telling yourself something like, well, what if the plane runs into turbulence and crashes? And you're thinking that that's a high likelihood event, and that's the magnification, because while there is some chance, obviously, of an airplane crashing, you're magnifying the real probability by hundreds of thousands of times. I think the likelihood of dying on a commercial airplane flight is like something like you'd have to fly all day, every day for 600 years to have that be a realistic possibility. I remember flying into San Jose. The Southwest Airlines flight was from Los Angeles to San Jose, and we were landing in San Jose. And I've said this before, so if you heard it before, I'm sorry, but I thought it was pretty cool. The pilot, as we were landing, just made the announcement, thank you for flying on Southwest Airlines. By the way, they give me a little honorarium for saying that. Not. And, but he said, thank you for flying on Southwest Airlines, and I hope you've had a wonderful flight and a wonderful day. And we're about to encounter the most dangerous part of the trip, your trip. And that's after we've landed and you're driving home. That's going to be the dangerous part of your trip. And so please drive carefully so you can fly with us again. And I thought that was really cool. But you see this magnification in like panic attacks. People with panic attacks magnify, their sensations. Like a lot of times people with panic attacks will get nervous, and then they'll get dizzy, and they'll say, oh my gosh, I'm about to go crazy and become insane. And they believe that, but there's really no evidence for that at all. People who are afraid of going crazy never go crazy. And one of the techniques I use with people with that is I tell them, I'd like to see you drive yourself crazy right here in the office, right now. And they say, oh, no, I couldn't do that. That's too dangerous. I'm going to freak out. And I say, well, tell me what would happen if you freaked out. And they say, oh, I'd be rolling around on the floor. I'd be talking in tongues. I'd be screaming incoherently. I'd be pounding on the walls and singing and shrieking. I say, do that right now. See if you can drive yourself crazy. And they panic. They say, no, I couldn't do that, Dr. Burns. And then finally, they generally say, if you think it's so easy, doctor, I'd like to see you do it. So I roll around on the floor and wiggle my hips and shout and talk in tongues and act crazy. And then I say, now it's your turn. And then they do it. And when they discover they can't go crazy, no matter how hard they try, it's almost always an instant cure. Panic attacks are actually one of the easiest things to treat. But you have to have courage, and your therapist has to have courage to get you to do these very things that will help you discover that what you're telling yourself is a lot of BS. And that's not so as to put you down. That's to give you freedom and liberation from the trap that you're in. But that's true of all forms of anxiety, OCD, fear of heights, all of these fears are due to magnification, exaggerating the danger massively, and without realizing that, and minimizing your own ability to cope. Now you may say, well, that's not going to help me when if I have a fear of elevators. I know that it's irrational, but I still have the fear. Well, I'm not as dumb as you think. I have heard that before, not once, but 12,782 times. And I know very well that we need other more powerful techniques to help you break out of various forms of anxiety. And fortunately, we've got them. And I'll be talking to you about all kinds of techniques to help you with magnification and minimization and all the other kinds of thinking traps and thinking errors that lead to depression, anxiety, loneliness, hopelessness, anger, and more. And discovering that you're wrong, that you've been conning yourself when you're upset, is one of the greatest discoveries a human being can make, because the freedom of saying, I'm finally free of my fears, I'm finally over my depression, I'm finally feeling joy. It's one of the greatest experiences a human being can have. And that's what I've devoted my life to, making that happen for people just like you. And so we have a lot of tools to help you get there. But all you have to do today is just a little intellectual understanding of the distortions, magnification, and minimization. Oh, and one other thing. We do that when we're angry at people too. We say, oh, that guy is such a jerk. He's a total loser. I can't stand him. He's horrible. Do you ever do that? Of course you do. I know you do. We all do that. That's another form of magnification. You build up in your mind how bad the other person is. And then you say, well, he's just a jerk anyway. So you get so mad, you treat him like he's a jerk. And then what does he do? Well, he acts like a jerk, but you're forcing him to do that. And it's because of the distortions going on in your head. Well, that's a topic for another day, how to deal with other people when you're pissed off or they're pissed off. And I'll give you some really, really neat videos on those topics as well. But anyway, see you again soon, and thank you.